feminism? It's time to get current. Today we'll be discussing the third wave of feminism. Third wave feminism started roughly in the early 1990s and continues to today. Unless you're one of those people who believe that we're currently in the fourth wave of feminism, in which case we're just kind of push you off to the side and ignore you, because third wave is complicated enough as it is. But I'm going to do my best and try and break it down for you. In 1991, Clarence Thomas was nominated for the Supreme Court when allegations were made that Thomas had sexually harassed Anita Hill, an African-American attorney and professor, while working under him at the U.S. Department of Education and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Despite these allegations and numerous witnesses, Thomas was appointed to the Supreme Court. Fast forward a few months later, and an article comes out in Ms. Magazine, written by Rebecca Walker, daughter of Alice Walker, author of The Color Purple. In her article, Becoming the Third Wave, Walker issues a call to action for young women everywhere, saying, "Let Thomas's confirmation serve to remind you, as it did me, that the fight is far from over. Let this dismissal of a young woman's experience move you to anger. Turn that outrage into political power. Do not vote for them unless they work for us. Do not have sex with them. Do not break bread with them. Do not nurture them if they do not prioritize our freedom to control our bodies and our lives. I am not a post-feminist feminist. I am the third wave." Damn. Post-feminism, by the way, is a topic that we'll be discussing more in a later video, but it essentially comes down to the idea that feminism happened. It's done. Sexism is over, therefore making any further feminist action unnecessary. We'll talk about it. For now, you might be wondering, Kaylee, what's the difference between second and third wave feminism? Did second wave feminists disappear into the ether after the Equal Rights Amendment was defeated? Not quite. But to understand the break between second and third wave feminism, we have to go back to the late 1970s, early 1980s, and something called the feminist sex wars, also sometimes referred to as the porn wars. Don't get too excited. Despite the image that it invokes, the porn wars weren't a bunch of second-wave feminists throwing dildos at each other, but rather a divisive issue for feminism at the time. Basically, it came down to two camps: anti-porn feminists on one side and sex-positive feminists on the other. Where anti-porn feminists saw porn as a focal point for women's oppression, specifically in regards to controlling women's bodies and violence against women, sex-positive feminists believed that sexual freedom was an important component of women's freedom as a whole. As we discussed in the last video, there are a lot of reasons why second-wave feminism lost its momentum. But this rift in feminist discussion played an important role in the development of third-wave feminism, and is one of the reasons for the tension that exists between second and third-wave feminists today. Part of that tension being that third-wave feminists, just like second-wave feminists before them, attempted to distance themselves from previous movements by saying that while they recognized the importance of past work, this new wave was going to fix the problems left behind by the previous generation. Which brings us to the next issue between the two waves, which is that third-wave feminism is often framed as a generational movement, the daughters of second-wave feminism striking out on their own. So basically what we have going on is that we have some feminists saying that the third wave isn't necessarily a movement in and of itself, but just an extension of the second wave. You know, like the second wave was an extension of the first wave. It's almost like the wave model doesn't even matter. It's kind of how you say you'll never turn into your mother until you wake up one morning to realize that you already have. But the debate itself is kind of really silly, because regardless of whatever you call it, feminist action is still occurring. It's really always occurring, no matter what wave you claim to belong to. So let's talk about it. So if we accept that third wave is a separate movement from second wave, what are its goals? Well, I'm glad you asked, YouTube. Third wave, while still focusing on legislative changes, also focuses on changing cultural norms and stereotypes. And while those things might sound like trivial issues, these norms, while individually appearing harmless, work together to create a foundation of attitudes that make existing social inequalities appear normal and inevitable. Which is why when we talk about third wave feminism, you're going to hear a lot about things like breaking down essentialism, where a person's biology means that they have certain characteristics, i.e. women are nurturing and men are aggressive. And you'll also hear about breaking down binaries, like male-female, white-black. Third wave focuses on intersectionality. Woo! And feminism on a global scale, which is made more possible through things like the internet. Yeah, it is. So because of this, there's an emphasis on the multiplicity of voices rather than just one person speaking for the imagined whole, which is a really cool but often critiqued facet of the third wave, as some people claim that it is too crowded with voices to organize in any meaningful way. So what are the key issues of the third wave? Here's where we see a lot of overlap between second and third wave feminism: gender-based violence, rape, reproductive justice, cultural representations of women, the reclaiming of words like bitch and slut, combating unrealistic and unhealthy beauty practices and standards, the glass ceiling, and domestic and global labor practices. Its manifestations in popular culture include the Riot Girl movement in the 1990s, the vagina monologues, and something that you guys are probably more familiar with, the slut walks. Now, it's really hard to talk about the history of third wave feminism considering we're still in the middle of it, but important legislation includes the Family and Medical Leave Act, the Gender Equity and Education Act, and the Violence Against Women Act. In 2004, we saw the March for Women's Lives in Washington, D.C., in which 500,000 marchers took to the streets for women's rights and women's reproductive rights. Damn. So, yeah. That was the three waves of feminism. And now that we've barrel rolled our way through history, we're going to start focusing on the fun stuff. And by fun stuff, I mean theory, action, current events, and legislation, which is great news for all of us because I was running out of blue shirts and surfing puns. So to kick off our new focus, we'll be starting next Sunday with intersectionality. You know, that thing I keep shouting at you. But until then, have a good week and happy unlearning.